Welcome back to Game Does Play Games, where you can watch games and practice game design, and we are here with some frickin' tooth and tail. Minus the frickin', that's actually not in the title, as you can see right there.
Do you think that would, ruin the theme?
Frickin' tooth and tail. Yes, I think so. Is that what the discussion's going to be about today?
Sure.
So this game is made by Pocket Watch Games, and the music is composed by my favorite of all time, Austin Wintory.
So I've never played this. You have.
Oh, yeah, I put a few hours into it now.
But I've already listened to the soundtrack multiple times. It is so good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's definitely my favorite game composer. Jim is second.
Guthrie's great, but Guthrie fits that like indie rock vibe.
Absolutely.
And I'm not much about that.
Well, yeah, he definitely has a sound. Austin Wintory has shown many times that he's very versatile. So,
to the tail, it's a MOBA.
MOBA RTS. It's a marriage of the two, which I know sounds weird because a MOBA is just a spin-off of an RTS technically, and quite literally the original one was a spin-off of. All
I'm saying is I'm not a MOBA player, so I'm making a lot of assumptions about what a MOBA is. So I'm gonna take your word that it's a happy in between.
Lol. Get it? Lol.
I quit. I'm leaving.
Okay. You just gotta league out loud. Alright, so we're just gonna start off with a 2-player one. I'm just gonna play against the AI, and the reason why is because I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna talk about game design and shit, and that's gonna be harder to do if I'm getting my ass kicked by somebody online. I'm not great at this game, I just enjoy it a lot.
You're playing against an online opponent now.
No, I'm not. Just don't worry about it. Just let me handle it.
This is waiting for player.
Just let me handle it.
Alright.
Just let me... Okay, you know, here, we'll go back. We'll go back to this. Okay. Yeah, I gotta prove him wrong. Okay, offline.
Oh.
Okay. Alright, so...
That is a little confusing. Does that mean that we could play on the couch? Like, 1v1?
I don't know how that would work besides split screen, and...
split screen would not really work.
It would ruin the game. It would ruin it in half. Alright,
yeah, that would kind of defeat the... It'd be like playing StarCraft. Split screen, like it just doesn't make sense.
It'd be precisely be like, all right, I guess I'll scout ahead. Oh, I know exactly where he's at on the map. Okay, so we have 4 characters we can choose from, and it's all aesthetic. So we have Hopper. She is a one-armed mouse or rat. I'm gonna go with rats. She is a one-armed mouse who gave her a rat who gave her arm for the cause.
Do they have long
making
tails?
Sure somebody could eat. You don't really see too much on their tails.
Oh, really?
But I mean, like I guess in the logo, it kind of showed a long tail.
Rats tend to have the longer snout too, though. Mice can too, but...
So we've got her, and then we've got, we'll go...
Weasels?
We got Bellafeed here. Bellafeed he is a turn... Or they call him the turncoat, but basically, yeah, he's for the uprising.
Oh,
so
okay.
she's about the common folk, though, fighting for the people. He's just like a different military faction that was like, screw the civilized people.
Is he basically the voice of the trailer, the one that was like, we turn to feed on each other?
Yes, he is. When he's talking about his kid, like that's his premise. Like he was promised that his kid would be fine, and they ate him anyway. Oh, the premise of the game is that there's not enough food, and everything in this world has decided to be carnivorous instead of eating vegetarian, like a lot of things would. So the only thing that eat vegetarian at all, right? The only thing that's not vegetarian at all are pigs, and everybody eats pigs. But eventually, the swine, as they call them, start running out, and so they start eating each other, and that's what it is. Whoever loses gets eaten. So when they kill you, they say, "We're taking you to the feasting table." Next is the quartermaster. The quartermaster is like she's the part of the KSR, which actually I don't really remember what that stands for in this, but she is. It's a she, for the record.
Is she a weasel?
They're all rats actually, which is very interesting because there are no rat units in the game. So the fun thing is you would think that they would be numerous. There's a lot of them, but it turns out like you only see 4 of them, and they're leaders of factions.
Interesting.
Yeah. So she's all about order. She is the military, and she looks incredibly evil. But like when you play her story, you're like, actually, I can sympathize for her because without her, everybody would just be turning on each other and eating themselves. And then finally,
she has Nazi-esque vibes to her. So
100%.
Yeah.
So they really turn it on the head when like you actually get to play. And then you have Archimedes, who is he is a basically religious zealot who they're the civilized, is what they call themselves, and
that's rather pretentious.
He is incredibly pretentious. And basically, in their religion or their way, or whatever it is, everybody eventually has to go on like a weird like religious trial, I guess, where the moose. The sage Mora or Nora, whatever they call him. Anyway, he's this giant moose, and he decides whether you're going to eat or be eaten that day. And so everybody's part of that society. Anyway, I'm a big fan of Hopper. I just think she's awesome, and plus I like her dialogue whenever she talks, because she'll say things like, "I need more snacks to make more units," and "This farm is mine now." Like I love her. So we're gonna do that, and we're gonna I guess we'll play against the KSR here. Boom. Too much talking, none to play. Here we go. So, we get to choose 6 units, actually. And we have 25 to choose from. So, unlike other games where you're set in your ways, like you can only play the Zerg or something like that, we can choose stuff. So, you have your like little basic units down here.
Whoa,
like,
that frog, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you have squirrels that... Basically, their premise is they always get drunk. Like, they're incredibly drunk, and that's how they convince them to go on the front lines, because they're too drunk and they don't care about whether they live or die or not.
Sounds about right.
They're like, a basic range unit. These guys, the
lizard.
They're just lizards. They throw spears, so they have shorter range, but they're a little tougher than the squirrels. And then you have your
artillery
croakers here.
Are they suicide?
They are
units?
suicide bombers.
Okay.
And so they get big bang for their buck, but if it's a one-on-one fight, they die, and then they may not kill the unit they're against, and so
so it's high risk.
It's high risk, but like massive reward if it's a big fight. So we're just gonna start off with the squirrels, pick them, and then we could pick all of these if we wanted to, but we're not going to. We're gonna see what the other things are. These are some of my favorites. They're the weasels, and they are artillery. They fire cannons from their backs, and we're gonna do them because they're awesome. You have yeah,
that is not the.
They're machine gun carrying birds. I want to say hawks.
I don't know. Their head is a little too small for hawks, but
so it's something. I can't really tell. I mean, because they wear the
winged. They wear the mask.
Yeah,
I like that mouth that's painted on it though.
Right. You have them. You have the skunks that will launch shit at people. They launch stink bombs. That's why they do damage over time. They're awesome. These are probably my favorite unit in the game, flavor-wise, and who they are.
Trench gang.
Here, you read their description. Nobody crosses the trench gang. Nobody. Well, some have crossed the trench gang, but only once. Don't cross the trench gang. That's all the description they give you. But they stealth, and they're melee units, and they're awesome, and I love them.
I was going to say, it feels very like World War II era styled units, and then we saw those guys, and I was like, that is...
Yeah, I'd probably put
different.
it closer to World War One.
That's fair, especially if...
I guess no, because these actually represent some of they weren't called the winged demons, or one of the American planes was the something demon. Help me out if you're watching this and you know they were the something demons, and they were painted like that. It's one reason America was able to turn the tide of the battle, because they had more up to date planes. Anyway.
Chemical warfare was big in World War One, though.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Uh,
What was I getting to? Okay, cool. Tooth collectors. When debts are not paid, the tooth collectors arrive. When no teeth remain, venom is the only way. They shoot ongoing poison damage. You have Uncle Butter. Uncle Butter is a warthog with a flamethrower. He does area effect. You have Inmate 438, who is a crazy badger. She is her entire family. They're all criminals. They're all crazy, and they're just a badger with a giant machine gun, or minigun rather. The matriarch
oh god,
eats. So they eat mice. So I guess there are mice in the game.
Do they puke acid onto the battlefield?
No, better. They eat the mice, and then later on they regurgitate them so that the mice can go fight. It's called being part of the family
unit?
Yeah. It's so we're gonna pick them out of fun. And
it's horrifying.
Yeah, it is. Because the best part too is the description for them is When they're not worthy, the matriarch eats them, and then later on they'll regurgitate them to give them a second chance to prove their worth.
That's. I've been won over already.
Oh
by this
yeah,
game.
the aesthetic is amazing. You have the drill sergeant who makes everybody faster because he yells at them and threatens them. Another one of my favorite units, Kasha. She was just a farmhand fox who decided to become a sniper one day. And
foxes are pretty big compared to some of these other animals.
Yeah, I mean, in their size will show.
I guess warthogs are also pretty huge, so that's interesting.
We're gonna pick butter just because I'm gonna show what it's capable of, and then we get these bottom units are all they're all like
obstacles.
Yeah, basically. So featherwire just like hurts things by getting too close, but the reason it's good is because all your little units are stupid and run into the featherwire instead of just shooting it, and so they will actually kill them over time. Plus, they obviously slow things down. Landmines that are invisible until they blow up on you. Pillboxes or bullet hives, as they call them here, which act exactly
sentry.
You have your air snipers that go in and snipe. And then you have drumfire cannons, which are area of effect attacks. We're going to do... let's do some good pillbox. All right, cool.
This art is gorgeous.
Oh, my God.
It's what
How far are we into the episode? We haven't even done anything yet?
10 minutes. Well, 12, actually.
That's okay. I'll try to make this one fast. Okay, cool. Oh, and you can talk about the art all you want.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is one of those few instances where I feel like...
It's a little chuggy right now.
Pixel art and high resolution, like painted art, they work really well together, and that doesn't happen often.
Yes.
And I wonder if part of it's because the painted quality of the higher resolution stuff. You get those like paintbrush dabs, and so it kind of almost gives it a similar texture-ish feel as some of the pixel.
And I remember, we're pretty close together. I'm pretty sure at one point I've even seen you play around with that a little bit. I've watched you like do pixel art with a digital paintbrush essentially.
Yeah, that can be tricky. There's some good techniques for that. I'm definitely don't think that's what they did here because this is just full resolution stuff. But yeah, I guess maybe what makes that art work together so well is just good color choices. It's very consistent between the two. Mm-hmm. And like the 16-bit art has a pretty deep color palette. Like there's a lot. It's not just like a 20 color kind of gradient or scale of colors. So that makes it read a little bit better with the painted art, which the painted art arguably uses a more muted color palette. So they I don't know, kind of balance out in the end, I think. I don't know, it's just cool. I like it. I don't see many games that attempt that and actually work out. It helps that the painted art's just also very characteristic. Like, it has a lot of character.
It gives it its own feel, absolutely.
So, talk about what you're doing right now.
Okay, so anybody who's familiar with RTSs, usually you have resources, right? To I guess, make your units, and normally it's going to be like food or energy or like power of some sort. Mm-hmm. And so in this case, what's going on is I'm actually there we go, first conflict. Jump back here a little bit. My farmhands help. So in this case, normally there's going to be like a few different resources you can choose from, or you have to farm. Mm-hmm. So StarCraft had the crystals or whatever they were called, and it also had gas. And it might have had something else, but those are the only two I can remember.
I think those were the core two, from the little bit that I remember of it.
And so usually there's like anywhere from 2 to 3 resources. This game only uses 1.
Which is just food.
And that actually causes the game to come out pretty interesting because you only utilize that one resource, but there's a constant fluctuation of this resource of food.
So you're planting farms up there, so I assume that just increases food production.
Yes. So basically, you spend 60 food to buy a farm, or you can spend it to purchase the grist mill first, which is what I did up here. I'm getting crushed. And and that's because I'm too busy talking and not utilizing my resources properly. But basically, yeah, you can spend 60 to also purchase this plot of land, which I shouldn't have done just now. We'll sell this.
So then a loan kind of offers some interesting strategy because you probably don't want to spend all early game building a bunch of farms because then it leaves you open for attack.
Yeah.
Which kind of is what happened here.
It is exactly what happened here. I mean, luckily I was able to recover and everything, and I mean, I'm not fully recovered yet, but I'm gonna make him pay for that.
Does your core character, like your mouse, does she have an attack?
No, she does not. The only way you attack is through the units, but you do have health, so you can die, and when you die, it takes you time to respawn back at your base.
Okay,
and
so it's not.
You may or may not give your opponent food when you die. I'm not actually really sure about that, but that seems like a mechanic that makes a lot of sense, since it is all about killing each other and putting them on the quote-unquote feeding table.
Did you just teleport back to your...
Oh, yes. So when you're scouting ahead, you want to scout to, get information, like learning that that's about to happen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm probably going to lose my shit here. And Uncle Butter's not going to get on the field fast enough, so I'm probably going to lose this mill, which is fine because it's mostly spent up. As you can tell, you can see that this pig right here is actually building or working on the farm. This one is called, it's gone fallow, fallow. It has no more resources left to farm.
Oh,
so
okay.
this area actually down here is almost done for me. There's almost nothing left to get out of it.
So you're not losing much by those farms being destroyed.
Yeah, and I'm being terrible right now. I'm not utilizing my resources at all. Like, I have 570. That's way too much. But don't really care too much about that because I'm about to build a matriarch and then just have fun with it. That's also a reason we're playing against a medium computer because I don't want to.
Yeah, if we were playing against humans, it might be done already.
Oh, yeah, no, I'd be dead. I'd be dead in a half. Oh, well, you took advantage of my weakness. And that's probably going to be the game right there. Oh, yeah, go, Uncle Butter, go, 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 get him. Oh, he's so good.
This is fascinating to watch, though, because watching the trailer, it's very hard to discern what's actually going on. Like, you can kind of get a sense of, like, oh, there's this food management system and, running around on the map. But if you're unfamiliar with MOBAs, I imagine you'd see a lot of this game and just kind of not really know how things work. But it seems like it's relatively easy to pick up and kind of poke around and figure out.
Yeah, I actually just learned how to play solely based on just playing against the AI, and then I actually kind of dove into the single player storyline. And let's get you out of here. So you can move around. You can just click and tell the unit to move in a direction. When they meet up with an opponent, they just start auto attacking it. Or you can hold on to the right click button, or I guess if you're using a controller, a different button.
And actually tell it what specific thing to attack?
Yeah, so right now I'm holding right click to tell them to retreat, essentially, which means that they'll keep running without attacking.
And that's nice.
Yeah. If I were to move over a unit and then hold on to the right click button, I'd basically be, don't you dare, get away from my pigs.
So I assume that one character was the enemy leader.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. It's so weird to see the enemy leader running around.
It is.
And not be able to do much about it.
It's especially too because normally you're used to you just using a mouse. You're telling a unit to go scout for you. In this case, you are the unit, and that's why it's a cross between a real-time strategy and a MOBA.
Yeah, I know scouting ahead and teleporting back is very much a MOBA kind of mechanic. I kind of wish I knew more about MOBAs, though, to see how it compares ultimately.
It's usually, so the MOBAs, you're usually only using one unit, and you're telling it which direction to go in.
I don't know if that's mostly true. I know League of Legends has some kind of I think it has some kind of little critter kind of mechanic, but that may be based on specific characters.
I was gonna say, I think that's a specific character ability.
Yeah, I really don't know.
First mill here. There's less compromise.
So you were saying off camera that turnaround time for these matches tends to be pretty short too, like 10, 15 minutes usually.
I've seen a really good match go 15 minutes, but most of the time they do not last that long.
That's interesting to me too, because I guess, well, that it's becoming a more popular trend in competitive games to have quick turnaround times. Like, you see that in first-person shooters especially, like Overwatch. I don't know how long matches usually last in games like League, but that does interesting things to competitive design in that, like, long-term strategies don't really, they're not a thing. There's definitely slower building strategies, but when you're in such a narrow time span, most of them just stop being viable, which I think is kind of a good thing.
I won, by the way.
Nice. Good job. Good job coming back, too, after, like...
It was because I was like, oh, I have like 600 food. I should probably use that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I find it really interesting that long-term strategies are just not as viable, because it means that you get strategies that are more consistent. And so the differences are a lot more narrow, but I think that in itself makes for a more balanced experience. You're less likely to have a foul experience
in
because the game
strategies.
Yeah, because the game itself kind of tells the player, like, hey, this doesn't make sense to do.
Well, there's also two mentalities with that. I mean, like a long-term strategy, your rush tactics should always be punishable. If somebody rushes you and you do not respond quickly, you're probably going to lose the game because you didn't respond. But theoretically, if they rush you and you do respond quickly, you have an edge, or you're going to win because of it. And it kind of becomes the same thing for long-term strategy. If you're planning, if I was just building grist mills and food and not building units, that's what happened to me. I got punished for it. He just rushed me with like 12, or I think it looked like it was more like 18 different units. And I barely, it was only because of those pillboxes that I was able to like survive. But the other mentality to it is faster games mean faster turnaround.
Right.
So a lot of times people will go for just faster strategies because win or lose, they can play another game sooner.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder how that affects the meta of the game too.
It destroyed Hearthstone.
Yeah.
It absolutely destroyed Hearthstone because people would just create bots that only did rush strategies. And it didn't matter if they were winning or losing, because if you win 51% of your games, but you're playing 100 matches, then you've won 51 matches, opposed to the person who's only played 20 games because they're playing a long-term strategy. Oof. And if they win even 55% of their matches, that means that they've won 11 games. So you're still doing better than they are. Granted, that was a very, very skewed ratio, but there it is. Let's take a look at this real quick, and we can get back into that because I want to play another game.
Should we do that in another episode, or should we just kind of make this a long one?
Let's just finish this up real quick, talk about the end screen here, and then we can do another match in another episode.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, so it shows you two statistics. All it shows you is the army value and then your income. So if you you can see there was this point where I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing all right, and then he attacked me. So wait, we're
so
red.
you're the
so we're red. Okay, so they were doing all right here, and this is where I went down. Yeah, right. You can't see this. This is us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So then this is where they, I guess where I built the pillboxes, and they and when they rushed me, they went down, but they immediately built back up when they had all those little guys. Those little guys can turn around really fast, but they're food heavy. So they got up to here, and then that's where they attacked me again. And then from there, I bet you right around here, when you see the income, you'll see him drop. Just about. So he got here. And then actually I dropped because he destroyed my farm.
Right.
And then this is where I destroyed one of his farms, and then it was just flatline from there. Basically what happened is, in this game, there's this interesting food balance where you obviously you saw what happens when you have too much food. But if your farms start to die out, and you have too many things creating units, what will happen is, if you're not producing any food, and it's it takes 60 food to make this unit, and you don't have any more food, or you're not generating that 60 food, you'll start starving. And so you're not able to create anything, so you need to start selling your warrants, which means that you start losing units because of it, and it's a downcline from there.
And
that's what I did to him in this match. I caused him to starve. I just went after his gristmill, but I didn't destroy his warrens where his guys were coming from. So I was forcing him to make units that he couldn't pay for anymore.
Oh, man, that's a crazy... See, I mean,
that's a weird strategy that it actually doesn't really... That doesn't work in StarCraft or anything like that the same way that this one does.
I mean, that to me reads as like one of the core designs that they were going for. Like, I think that
it's all about
thematically, that makes so much sense to have it as a strategy. And it makes me really happy that it actually does work.
Oh yeah, I mean even the story is about that in the one player mode is about everybody. They start running out of food, so you start eating each other, and then eventually everybody just starts starving to death because they can't support an economy anymore, and that's how a game feels if it goes long enough. Eventually, all the grist mills will be gone, all the farms will be gone, and you will not be able to feed your units, and then you will just starve. And that would technically be how a high-level game would work, is that both players are working at max proficiency, and then eventually one starves to death before the other one does. That would be like the perfect game, technically. Long game.
That'd be crazy.
Right? So, anyway, there's a lot more to talk about in that, but this is fun.
Yeah. No, this is cool.
I'm glad I made a comeback and didn't seem like a complete asshole.
Question of the day. It's hard to... I guess we could talk about either the art, or we could talk about the gameplay flow, or we could even talk about those stats that it showed at the end, and why that's important.
I think I want to talk about the art, but let's actually ask about I guess the food economy in that case, because we saw what happened when I had too much food, and then we saw what happened when the enemy didn't have enough food.
So how, maybe the question is, how does the food economy as a core mechanic create a complex system for strategy?
That's good. Yeah, look at you wording it all friggin' fancy and everything. As I followed up with that. Especially because there's only one resource. That's the other interesting thing.
Yeah.
Every other game like this uses 2 to 3 resources. It's really cool. Yeah, cool. So, till next time, answer that question. Goodbye.
Bye.